Aloha and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Got Your Six podcast. This six-question podcast brings together high performers to share their methods, strategies, and ideas, delivered in an informative and, most importantly, actionable way that'll help you lead yourself and those around you from the battlefield to the boardroom. Coming to you every episode, I'm your host, Tony Nash. And into the breach.
Nothing mentioned on this podcast is an endorsement or opinion of the Department of Defense.
I got your six, we got your back. Got your six, we got your back. Got your six, we got your back. I got your six.
Sixers, today we have a very special guest, Mike Eckert, tactical athlete, personal trainer, over 3 million, almost 4 million across all social media platforms. We're talking YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, which is his largest. Recently launched his app, Live Above the Line, currently on pre-sale for only $1, containing videos, workouts, nutrition guides, health tips for anybody in his community. Mike is highly passionate about wellness and fitness, incorporating some forms of military training into his workout program. He is also a member of FitOps Foundation, an organization that seeks to reduce veteran suicide throughout fitness. He unfortunately lost his best friend, Tyree Green, aka Banana, to depression, and that's been a huge driver with his passion behind FitOps Foundation. He regularly puts up workout videos, which are literally insane and jaw-dropping. Every time he drops a video, I have to use both hands to pick my mouth up. Drawing from his own lifestyle and experience, Michael has also given pointers out how to make the impossible possible. He's a staunch believer of pushing oneself to the limit. He believes your biggest competitor is yourself. You can never reach a limit when you're too good. True to this, Michael has joined and been on American Ninja Warrior in 2012 and 2014. He was awarded, he did get the Guinness World Record for most pull-ups, 50 in 1 minute in 2015, and is currently training for most pull-ups in 24 hours later this year. He has been featured in Men's Health, Men's Journal, Pop Sugar, Esquire, among others. Michael initially went to college for mechanical engineering, but halfway through realized his heart wasn't in it. Also seeing his father, who was a former Army captain, and his brother, who was an Army Infantryman, he needed to one-up them. He then decided to enlist in the Marine Corps in 2013. Michael, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So currently, staff sergeant in the reserves for the Marines.
Yep.
Being in since 2013, what's one thing you look to implement daily that you've taken away from your time so far in the military?
You're saying like just something a good takeaway from the military?
Yeah. So it could be like you wake up and you make your bed every day, or obviously you're working out all the time.
I'm not, when I was on active duty, that was like a requirement to make my bed. I don't make my bed every morning.
Okay.
But physical fitness, that's my prime. Yeah. Whether it's morning, night, once a day, I always do something that involves moving my body around in the comparison of being an athlete. So like some sort of athleticism.
Right. And you're known as the pull-up guy, right? Like how did the pull-up come to be like your go-to? Obviously you do tons of different stuff, but the slow motion walking and pull-ups, which are, again, to me, next level. How did you get there?
So I would say my first time really ever doing pull-ups was when my dad, he built a military style pull-up bar in the backyard. And my brother was on the national champion rowing team. So that obviously is like the pulling motion. And so he would do pull-ups on the bar to practice and I would just compete with him. And so it was just like a brotherly sort of like who could do more reps and there was probably sloppy as heck, but it was the competition that was the reason we even did them. And I think that transitioned into me naturally having the ability to do that, because like when you keep it fun and you don't really think about it as a workout, like it just transitions into staying fun and staying awesome. So I just kind of kept that same philosophy. Like nobody ever told me that 40 or 50 pull-ups was a lot, right? So I always tried to have like a mental number. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do 30 pull-ups today, 40 pull-ups, whatever. Yeah. And then it wasn't until someone bet me that it was one of my old rock climbing buddies, but they bet me. They're like, hey man, how many pull-ups can you do in a row? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, why don't you try? And so I did like 45 or something like that. And at the time, that was years ago, that was actually the world record for most in 60 seconds.
Wow.
And they're like, dude, I think you just broke the world record. And I think it was because I didn't put the stigma of 45 was a lot, 30 was a lot, because a lot of people look at people who can do 30 or 40 pull-ups and they think that that's a big number. But if you don't put a cap on it, or like, I think that's why I developed into why I can do so many. But I think that's where it all started.
Okay, so it really came to you through like a bet, right? Challenging, yeah. I love that, because I am always one when it comes to peer pressure and physical fitness to be like, all right, let's go. And I know you're the same way. Where do you think that pushing one's limits came from? Was it like a book or course or some sort of like YouTube video that like greatly influenced your life?
Really,
or like,
I mean, my thing with doing any type of interview or anything like that is I'm completely honest, and I'm not trying to say things that people want to hear. But for me, I never had like a super big role model in the real world. Mine was always like Goku from Dragon Ball Z, or like any type of like super powerful cartoon guy. I just looked up to him because I don't know if you've ever seen Dragon Ball Z, but Goku is like this super strong guy who finds a way to overcome physically. And I think as a kid that was awesome to see. And I knew I couldn't like fly around, but I could, push myself and rise to that level. So that was my role model growing up. I always wanted to be like Goku. So.
That's awesome. So no, I think that's really cool. I don't know too much about Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I'm very like, I think I know who Goku is, the one who like does like the fireball stuff with his hands.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Okay.
But I never really, I don't know what it was. In my childhood, I never grew up with like I want to be like that championship boxer. I want to be, and I never really grew up like I wanted to do something specific. Like a lot of people want to play football. I wanted to do a little bit of everything just because I enjoyed it. And it was really bouncing around from thing to thing to realize that I just enjoyed pushing myself like as far as I could. And I just loved the thrill of competition. And so I didn't stick with anything. So I always say that I would probably be some sort of collegiate athlete or further than that, or like professional athlete if I stuck with something. But since I spread myself around, I'm just like pretty well-rounded athlete across the board. And that's where I'm at now. But yeah, I looked up to Goku.
No, there's something to be said about being a generalist, right? Where you can, because you're not only picking up skill sets along the way at like different events or different competitions, but they all there's overarching themes that come through being a generalist, and that end up being transferable skills throughout the way, like over time. And is there like, would you say one skill or ability or talent that you're currently working on that you're kind of starting new?
New is mobility.
Okay.
That's something that I've always had a weakness. It's why I made it to the finals both times on Ninja Warrior when I competed. And it was kind of like I hate to say it, but it was like a walk in the park all the way to the finals. Like I had the 5th fastest time in the nation. And I never even done any of the obstacles before. Mm-hmm. But it was because I was good at pretty much everything you could think of except mobility. And so I don't know if you've seen the show, they have this thing called the jumping spider where you hit a trampoline and go in between 2 walls. And I looked down, I was on national television. I looked down those 2 walls and I was like, I know my legs can't go that far apart. And I was like, but I'm on TV, so let's try. And it looks like I jumped off the trampoline straight into the water. Like I didn't even try to go into the wall. But I was like, that's probably why that episode never aired, but that was my attempt at it. And so that's mobility and flexibility have been my kryptonite for a long time. And so pretty recently I've been trying to focus more on that without becoming overly flexible, because I feel like you lose a little bit of strength when you become overly mobile. So
what are you using? Are you following like a routine, kind of come up with your own thing? I know there's apps out there like GoWad. I didn't know if I wasn't, I consider myself an extremely inflexible person. Mm-hmm. and programs out there, and I've seen a lot of them, they're normally generated for the people that aren't, that just want to get more flexibility, but they're not like a pretty elite athlete. Mm-hmm. So I have to really focus on my tight spots, like my hip flexors and my glutes are insanely tight. And so there's no programs that really focus directly on like specific, I mean, I'm sure there are, but
I'm pretty good at it. It's just a matter of not being lazy and doing it. I think that's what I run to, because it's something I don't enjoy doing, but I know it'll be so good for everything else I do. And that's kind of how I weigh it out to my mind, because I'm just like fighting myself the whole time trying to stretch.
We talk about sometimes on the show the mental mile, right? And the mental mile is essentially like 10 minutes a day of doing something that you like just completely disdain, but know you have to do to become better. So you're saying essentially like your mobility work is your mental mile, like each day, like we're at least trying to do 10 minutes or more.
Yeah, like I mean today, even this morning, right before this, I was stretching for like an hour. And I find ways to make it not as full, you know, because I don't, if I'm continually doing something that I hate and it never gets any more enjoyable, I feel like I just, you know, I'm going to put that to the side. I think that's why I've done it. So I've been exploring different things of making it, I don't know, more applicable to me. Like if I am held in a position and it's like stretching me, right? So if I like can lean over, if you know the pigeon stretch where you put your leg on the ground and you lean over it, like that's a super lazy stretch, but it's really good, right? All you have to do is lay on your leg. And so that's how I'm doing it, because then it just becomes, I'm just gonna lay here, I'm gonna suck it up for a little bit, and if I can find multiple positions like that, that's where I'll go. It's those active, you got to be fully engaged. Like if you go to do yoga or something, because I tried doing that, and then I tried doing hot yoga, and all of it was just, it was awful.
Yeah. Now, do you ever do any of the stretching and stuff, like change up the environment? I know you just got the sauna set up and stuff like that. You ever incorporate any of that?
Sauna's really helped. I knew it would, because I like the pre-warm up. Like I don't want to have to go on a run to warm up my muscles in order to start stretching. And I hate stretching when I'm cold. So the sauna is like, I just sit in there for 10 minutes prior to, and then it warms my whole body up, my core temperature's up, and I'm just mentally more prepared to start going into a deep stretch. And yeah, so I knew I needed one of those, and I just built one yesterday. So that's, I've done that before, so I knew it would work, but now I have one in the convenience of my home, so I can use it every day.
Awesome. And was that relatively inexpensive?
I mean,
and it's all relative, right? Like if you're going to continue, you're very invested in this. You want to make sure you're going to continue to invest in yourself. Yeah,
exactly. And it's, I mean, I'm focused pretty much only, I mean, besides married in a few months, I'm much focused directly on the health of my body and performance. So anything I can invest in that I know will help, then I'm going to invest in it.
Yeah. So in the last 5 years, I mean, I know mobility is something that you're working on now. Would you say that's the kind of the new belief or behavior habit you said most improved your life, or has there been something else in that time?
You think mobility?
Using mobility as like what you're currently working on now. Would you say that's the biggest like behavior or habit that's really improved your life over the last 5 years, or is there something else?
No, I think the biggest, and I mean, it could be fitness related, but I think the biggest thing I've done is just surrounding myself with things and people and habits that I enjoy doing. Because I know you're talking about like the mental mile and whatnot. I've tried to take something I don't like and I try to pick it apart and realize, why don't I like this thing? And what can I do to make it so I do like certain things about it? And then maybe that'll transition and change my mindset to actually enjoying it. Because then that's the most powerful thing. If you start to enjoy, like if I started to enjoy stretching, which this morning was awesome after the sauna, then I'll do it habitually because it's enjoyable. But if I'm like just grinding and fighting myself all the time, I'm in that, I guess you can kind of like say that flow state where you're not resisting too much and you're kind of just flowing by and everything feels really good. Like I said, I just moved up to Tennessee. I really like it up here. It's definitely an environmental thing. So it's like, you know, I just try to, I think that's my biggest thing is I've just been trying to do things I enjoy and it's made me a happier person.
So that reframing essentially is what it is, what you're talking about. Like it's just taking things and that's part of like the mental mile is like figuring out, yes, you know, you want to do this, you want to get better at mobility or you want to surround yourself with better people. How do you go and do that? And like going back, taking a step back and looking like, all right, hey, these are the things of that I don't like to do or don't provide me any value, but I can kind of cut those things out because I'm really focused on achieving a goal of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that too is letting go of the fact you can't control people, but you can control who the people you are around. So it's like letting good people into your life is amazing, and then taking bad people out of your life as best as possible, because you're gonna have to deal with certain people. If you go to a store and the cashier isn't very nice or anything like that, like don't let it ruin your day. You can't control people, but you can control the people that you actually spend a lot of your time with, or you can control the people that you're around, like the environment that you're in. And I think that's been the healthiest thing for me, is just really focusing on building good, positive relationships with awesome people and people you can trust, because a couple toxic people in your life can really bring you down.
Right. Yeah. One bad apple spoils the bunch, as they say. I know it's a very old school thing, but it's so true.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that saying's still around.
Right. Great point. I want us to take a step back, and we talked about, you said you were just coasting. You're not trying to, you going through American Ninja Warriors, you kind of coasted to the finals, but you did, although you were just crushing it. And then you got up there, you went to go to the spider wall and just dropped like a rock into the water. Would you say that's your greatest failure? Like, what I'm really trying to get at is like, what failure has ultimately become your greatest success?
I mean, we could call it my failure. I broke my wrist like 4 years ago, falling on an obstacle 3 days before coming off active duty. And I feel like that was my biggest failure, because I let myself down, because I had a lot of confidence and like I felt invincible, and I got so blindsided. I didn't even check to see if I was like 14 feet in the air, and I didn't check to see if there was a pad below me. And I was just like, I can do anything. And I slipped off this obstacle and I fell onto, that like horse mat rubber. It's basically like borderline concrete.
Yeah.
I hit that and I was in the seated position, and my wrist was the first thing to hit, or my hand was, and my left wrist crumpled into itself. And that leading into the same week, my best friend committing suicide and whatnot. And it was just the darkest time of my life, where I was like, hey, I can either, join him and not be here anymore, or I can push through and see where this goes. But if I make that decision to keep going, I can't even fucking look back at what my other decisions were, So and I'm still here. And so I'm still running as fast as I freaking can right now. I hope it turns into my biggest success. I'm still training for it, but I'm working on breaking that world record for most pull-ups in 24 hours. And after my wrist surgery, I mean, I broke it, and I have a metal plate and like 9 screws and stuff in it. And they had to do 2 surgeries because it was really bad on the nerves, and they had to permanently reduce my grip strength. So that's just something that my best training days are the days that I forget that I broke my wrist. And not a lot of people know that I broke my wrist based on like the videos that they see. So that's where I like the fact that nobody knows I broke my wrist, because it was a pretty significant injury. But the fact that now I'm doing stuff and I'm coming back even stronger than when I was in that super dark place, I feel like that's definitely turned into my successful mindset. Because when you reach and you touch the bottom and you're like, I can either stay here or keep going, you really start to think about the things that matter. And you're like, what the hell am I even doing? Like, why am I talking to this person that I cannot stand? I was like, just let them. And it's hard to do that if you have, I don't know, if you haven't been in the environment where you're like, you're stupid, everything's dark and all that, you're super depressed. But as soon as you come out of that, you're like, man, I need to let go of some relationships. I need to start working on myself. And then afterwards, you can just be a better person all around. So I think that breaking my wrists and getting out of that rut was, has slowly turned into my successful point, and hopefully it leads into me breaking world records and just being a better athlete.
Still climbing up that pathway to success. Still not at the pinnacle yet, but still climbing that mountain. And that's really go ahead.
Oh, I mean, yeah, just on that, like, and my dad always told me, my dad's saying is none of us are getting out of here alive. So I'm like, I can train as hard as I want, you know, and I'm still not getting out here alive. So it's okay to fail once in a while. It's okay to, you know, not make the quota, not do, but get back on and keep trying hard, because it's the journey, really. We're all in a journey. We're all going to die. That's the end destination, right? But you might as well earn some glory and commendable stuff all along the way. And I think that's what drives me, is I want to leave behind at least a legacy that I can look back on and be like, damn, I really got after it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So then the final question is, how are you better than yesterday? Is it that legacy piece that drives you, or is there something else?
I think what drives me most is just continuing to do things that I enjoy. And a lot of people confuse physical fitness. I think everyone should be physically fit, and everybody should strive to be an athlete, because it's a very primal thing. It's our human nature, and we function better as humans if you're functionally in shape. But I think people get confused with physical fitness is the only way to be successful. And like, I was going for mechanical engineering, and I'm really good at math, but I don't love it, right? So I think that it's a matter of really listening to what's inside and what you enjoy. And I just happen to enjoy pushing my physical limits. I love the feeling of pushing myself physically as far as I can go. And then I just happen to have this also natural ability to pair that with like my pull-up strength, and just I mean, it's also because I've taken care of my body, and I've tried to train the right principles and whatnot.
Right.
But I think, yeah, I think it's just important to find the avenues where you really thrive. And I just happen to thrive in the physical fitness industry, but that doesn't mean everyone needs to do that. Like, if people play video games and they're killing it, and it's freaking awesome. And I think that people should strive to do what the heck they're good at and they enjoy. But pair that with a little bit of, you know, I should probably go to the gym for a little bit, you know, at least 30 minutes a day or whatever. Get out there, be an athlete, and then do whatever you want, and then thrive in your environment.
Yeah. So it's good to, like you talk about all the time, it's like clearing your head and just kind of going into it and getting into that flow state, because it happens, and it can happen, you know, whether you're doing, you know, 24 hours worth of pull-ups, or you're just doing a 30-minute walk, right? It can happen at any point. We just got to keep going out there and getting after it. Yeah.
And you got to listen to yourself. You're like, if one day I'm doing pull-ups and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I hate this.
Yeah.
Like, why am I still doing pull-ups? If I did that, then I'd be like, maybe I should, you know, start looking at a different love, pushing myself to the limit. And I happen to be in a realm where I can push myself to the top of the list, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to compete for that number one spot. And I think it's awesome. That's just me. I want to push myself as hard as possible. And I happen to be really good at pull-ups. So I fit the demographic for that realm.
Very well.
And yeah.
Right. And then, like, again, like, you didn't start at the top and climb down, right? You started where you were at, and you continue to climb every day.
Yeah. And it's funny, because if you think about, like, there's people out there that don't have social media, don't have internet, and they might be doing pull-ups, and they might be doing 150 in one set in like 60 seconds. And I think that's physically impossible, but you know what I'm saying? They could be doing like a lot, but there's just somebody out there who's doing it for fun. They enjoy it, and they're not comparing themselves to others. They're just competing against themselves. And one day they'll show up and they'll just push they'll break the 4-minute mile, for lack of a better way of saying it, you know, that nobody thought it was possible until somebody did it. And that's my thing, is I just want to push the realm of human performance as far as possible in my own unique way.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it. Why not you?
Yeah. I will say, though, it's extremely boring. It's super boring.
Monotonous.
Like, yeah, it's just 3 pull-ups at a time. I'm watching movies, but it's like I have to block off like a 6-hour block of time where I'm like hands on the bar pretty much the whole time. You know, like, that's it. And it's boring.
But it's going to be great to watch later what is it, September?
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen in September.
Okay.
And again, I'm getting married, and that's priority number 1.
Congratulations.
And thank you, man. So if all goes according to plan, then yes, September is the projected time frame.
Awesome. Well, before we go, I want to make sure people can reach out to you any place they want to. And you got the list. So if you want to just go through it real quick, how can people get a hold of you? Where can they see you? Where can they find you?
Really, I mean, it's just my name, Michael Eckert Fit, because I put fit at the end of my name to let people know that I'm into fitness, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just literally Michael. All my social media is Michael Eckert _fit. That's pretty much it.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Yep.
You'll find him. He's out there. He's doing his thing. He's pulling every day. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having our six and allowing us to kind of see into your journey and sharing all these wisdom and wise words with us.
Thank you for having me, man.
I don't know what you've been told, Sixers, but the lawyers would like us to remind you that the views, opinions, and comments expressed on the Got Your Six podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests, to include current and previous Department of Defense employees, and should in no way be considered the opinions of or endorsements on behalf of the Department of Defense or any of its components, divisions, contractors, or other current and previous staff members.